All right, let's talk about it. That downward scroll. We're going to unpack this huge digital phenomenon and the very real addiction that, let's be honest, a lot of us can feel creeping in. You know this feeling, right? If that classic line we tell ourselves, okay, just 5 minutes. And then, bam, you look up and an hour is just gone. It's like a time warp. And it feels like pretty much everyone's experiencing it. To really get a sense of how massive this is, check out this number: over a billion. That's how many short video users there were in China alone by mid-2023. We're talking more than 95% of their internet users. This isn't some passing trend. This is a core part of digital life for an entire nation. And it's not just how many people are scrolling, it's for how long. On average, we're looking at more than 2.5 hours a day, every single day. I mean, think about that. That's a massive slice of your waking life, which really makes you wonder, right? Where's the line? When does a simple habit cross over into something more like an addiction? Well, researchers actually have a name for this, and it's not just about, liking a few funny videos. The key words here are uncontrollable desire. It's a compulsion that can lead to a real loss of control, and it starts to mess with everything: your social life, your focus at work or school. This is the real core of what we're digging into. So, how does this even happen? How do we get so hooked? Well, the first part of the puzzle is the tech itself. We've got to look at the incredibly smart, and I mean really smart, algorithms running the whole show. Think about how much things have changed. It used to be that we were the hunters, right? We'd go out and actively search for information. Now, we're the prey. The information, the content, it finds us. It's this nonstop, super personalized stream just pushed right to our screens. It takes zero effort to consume it. And this is the secret sauce. It's a perfect feedback loop. The algorithm shows you something. You watch it, maybe you like it, maybe you share it. Instantly, the platform is tracking that. It's learning what makes you tick, and it uses that to make the next video it shows you even better. Every single scroll, the cycle just gets tighter, smarter, and way, way harder to resist. Yeah, and this quote from Tristan Harris, he's a design ethicist, it just hits the nail on the head. He says the issue isn't that you lack willpower. No, the real issue is that there are literally thousands of people on the other side of the screen whose entire job is to figure out how to break down your self-control. It's not an accident, it's by design. Okay, so that's the technology part. But what about the human side of things? What is going on in our own brains when we get lost in that scroll? Let's dive into that. This is a really important distinction researchers make: immersion versus flow. Flow is that amazing feeling you get when you're totally in the zone, right? Like you're playing guitar or deep into a coding project. It's active, it's challenging. Scrolling, that's not flow, that's immersion. It's totally passive, super low effort. You just fall into it. And because it asks nothing of you, that's what makes it so incredibly easy to get addicted to. So there's this thing called dual process theory that explains this perfectly. Basically, think of your brain as having two systems. There's the conscious thinking part, the one that makes plans, and then there's the automatic autopilot part. When you start scrolling, you're basically handing the keys over to the autopilot. And the more you scroll, the stronger that autopilot gets, making it that much harder for your conscious brain to say, hey, that's enough. And then there's this other idea, the opponent process theory. It's kind of like an emotional seesaw. You watch a great video and you get that little hit of pleasure. Yay! But as soon as it's over, your brain tries to balance things out with a little dip, a feeling of meh. What's the fastest way to get rid of that meh feeling? Scroll to the next video for another pleasure hit. And boom, you're trapped in the cycle of chasing the highs to avoid the lows. But here's the thing, the tech and the psychology, they don't hit everyone in the same way. So that brings up the third piece of this puzzle, the human factor. Who is actually most likely to get hooked? So a recent study actually looked into this and sorted people into three basic groups. You've got the huge middle chunk, about 56%, who are in the medium addiction zone. Then there's the low addiction group, about 29%. But then there's this group, almost 15%, that falls into the high addiction category. And that's the group we really need to understand. And this is where it gets really interesting. The study found that it's not just about the app's design. Turns out, things like your personality, your self-esteem, how much social support you feel you have, these things are huge predictors of who gets hooked and who doesn't. So let's break this down. Take a look at the high addiction group. What you see is they tend to score lower on extroversion and feel like they have less social support. Now, what's fascinating is the medium addiction group. They actually scored the lowest on self-esteem. And the low addiction folks, they're scoring highest across the board on things like social support and self-worth. It's almost like having these internal resources acts as a kind of shield.
Okay, so we have this perfect storm, right? The tech, our brain chemistry, our own personalities, it's a lot. So the big question is, what do we do about it? What's the path forward here?
Well, the general thinking is that this isn't on just one group to fix. It's a shared responsibility. The people making the videos, they need to focus on creating more valuable stuff. The platforms themselves, they've got to step up, own their role, and build better systems to prevent addiction. And yeah, governments and regulators need to set clear rules to protect people, especially kids. Everyone has a part to play. So, in the end, it all comes down to this. The scroll is literally designed to be infinite. It never ends. But our attention, that's the most finite resource we have. It runs out. And this whole system is built to capture it. So the real question, the one you have to ask yourself, is how are you going to spend yours?